for the update, what I wanted to share in consent agenda, there is a report on how we're spending our funds related to ESIC that we received from the province of New Brunswick, the Economic and Social Inclusion Corporation, and there's some important things there, including our ability to enhance the urban-rural rides, which has improved quite a bit over time. We had very low ridership in the past, and we're taking strides to find new volunteers and new supports. In addition, the report also identifies that we were able to identify a great partnership with Quispam Sis and Rosse for their support of their KV Go project. This is important because it really does allow for ESIC's priority for accessibility and accessible transportation, and using this demonstration project through KV Go to collect that data and to support future endeavors across the region. So we're very excited about that as well. It's in consent, so I just wanted to make sure you're aware of it. I also want to make you aware that we were successful at accessing $100,000 through the Environmental Trust Fund this year, and approximately $70,000 of that will be used for a call to proposals for our local members of the FRSC. And what we're looking to do is basically animate your own plans and finding connection points between them. So we'll be using these funds for demonstration projects. The call of proposals will go out in mid-August. We'll be sharing it with the CAOs, and then it will go out, but we'll be looking for projects from across the region to support the objectives of your own climate adaptation mitigation plans. So it's an exciting time for us to leverage these dollars. It's not a lot of money, but it's something that nevertheless is something we believe will bring value back to our members. We have submitted our application to the Regional Development Corporation for the Regional Transportation Pilot Project, and we're looking forward to hearing whether we're successful in accessing some of those funds. On July 2nd of this month, we did meet with Minister Miles, and Vice Chair McKenzie was there. Did you want to give a little update on that meeting with the Minister of Social Development?
Well, I mean, I think it was pretty productive. Mary Schreier was there with me, and we met with the minister, the deputy minister. I can't remember who was all in the room, yeah, we talked about things that concern the Fundy Regional Service Commission, as does all regional service commissions, and the fact that we can do a lot of data research, we can do all the legwork, but at the end of the day, if we come up with a gap that's been identified that needs to be rectified, they need to come up with resources to do that. And so, we talk a lot about responsibility, accountability, what our mandate was basically, and at the end of the day, I said basically, we can leave this room knowing that you've got our back, then I'll be happy with that. Yeah. And she said you can. So, as far as the Community Development Committee is concerned, I think we had a good meeting, and that reflects on the Regional Service Commission as well.
Thank you, Joe. That's great. Three other quick updates. One is you received an email yesterday around participation in the Pride Parade on August 16th. And essentially the city reached out to us and says, could you help kind of the regional involvement? There's been regional involvement in this for years, so it's not new, but they said, could you help us kind of facilitate? And we said, absolutely, we will. So we're excited for this. If you have any questions, you can invite your own vehicles, your own town or community vehicles, if you have some, to participate. So please let us know. Also got an update from Scott Borden on the rural district plan, and on July 3rd there was the first rural plan working group comprised of members of PRAC, which is our Planning and Review Assessment Committee, as well as the RDAC. So the council or the committee that Bruce is a member of, as well as members of the public. And from my understanding, it was a process, an opportunity to provide feedback on the process, and how to engage the community was a key topic. But anything else, Director Dreyer, you chair on that first working group meeting?
I wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, okay.
I'm not actually on the working group.
Okay.
I'm kind of
Okay.
Step back.
Okay. Okay.
Step back, but
Okay.
there was, Scott would have more information.
Okay.
There is more information for us to share with the public, and we're planning, we were going to have one through the summer, but I don't think we would have had the numbers that we want.
Okay.
So we're pushing towards the end of August for our next
Great.
public information session.
Excellent.
Hopefully be as successful as the last one.
Well, that's what we're hoping. It seems like the group over on the peninsula have a little bit more interest or less entitlement. They're gung ho to really deal with this on their own, and we're offering, I guess, a safe place for
Space.
them to
Absolutely.
feel involved.
Yeah.
And after, like I said before, after that last meeting in Kingston, people left feeling much better about the process. They're feeling more involved. The original feeling was that, why haven't we been consulted? What's going on? There's a lot of unknowns, so
Yeah.
it's slowly starting to come together.
Bring them over.
Kudos to you guys
Yeah.
for doing that.
The last item is thank you to Director O'Hara, if I may. This was for her involvement with the executive, and she's no longer part of the executive, although often in meetings they're like, can we invite Libby back in? And I said, well, I think we got to give her a break, but on behalf of the organization, thank you for
Thank you
your
very
support
much.
towards
Very good.
Very
You get out, but they try to draw you back.
That's a list of meetings inside.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. It's framed.
We're all good.
Yeah, we're good?
Could I?
Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
On the RDC regional transportation and accessing some of the funds, could any of that be directed to Ross Sis for the KB Go? Like, is that, if we don't have it, it's not earmarked or anything,
Yeah.
could I request that it be, that a portion or all of it be earmarked to Dispenses Ross for KB Go? Because I really feel strongly that this could be a template, not only for the region, but for the province as well.
Yeah. Through the chair to Director O'Hara, there's kind of two different avenues that I maybe identify. One is in the verbal update I shared on the funds for the call for proposals for the environmental trust funds.
Mhm.
I think that's a great avenue for this project. Please submit it to that. I think it makes great sense, and we would consider it under that stream. The demonstration projects are part of our application to RDC, and there's quite a bit of funds there, and we contemplated 2 or 3 different demonstration projects for the coming fiscal year of 2026. So 2025, 2026, I should say. So yes, absolutely, there'd be consideration of that. We've identified a mechanism to review and evaluate projects for that. So I think that would be another great candidate for it. It'd be premature to say, yes, funds are all there, but we want to be able to see demonstration projects just like this so that it can inform the rest of the region on how they're tackling their own transportation needs. So it's part of our application. And in terms of the likelihood of us achieving those funds, I know I've shared that RDC is less, have less funds than maybe in the past. However, if you've been following, like, regional-based transportation is a massive priority of the province, and they're struggling to achieve goals in it. So this is tactically a really important time for us to be going to them saying, we've got something, we've got a region that's really motivated behind this idea, give us a chance to show you. So my guess is that it will probably go through a separate stream to try to find how they could be funded, because it's timely.
And I just want to put it out there that if anyone wants any of the data that we're able to collect, we are more than happy to share it with everyone.
Can we get a free bus pass to try it?
Sure.
It's free anyway.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
is it?
free.
Oh!
She was like, sure for you? Yes.
That's good to know.
Try so-
If I get a spare hour, I am gonna go down and go back and forth on that bus just to try her out.
Whole day, spend the whole day.
Well, thanks for that, Olivia. It's free. I didn't know I'd get that. All right, we're moving on to where we at? Planning and building?
Consent.
Consent.
Consent items?
So it's just secret.
There's 3 items in consent. You can throw them all into one
Yep.
unless anyone needs to break it out.
Are you guys comfortable putting it all in one?
Move, receive, and file the 3 consent items.
Okay. Moved by Nancy, second by John. Question on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you. There we go for that. Okay, presentations and reports. Solid waste. Who would that be?
Yeah. I've done a good job of keeping out of everyone's face.
You can.
Today I'm seen to be here. Yeah. So if you remember, presented a couple times on the solid waste strategy. This is kind of that next iteration to finalize it off. Basically, the solid waste strategy is really going to be an action tool. I think we're going to move away from the word strategy and go more to the word plan or pathway or something like that, some kind of, because it really is what it's about. It's not traditional. It's not a traditional setup. It's more actionable, and it's really it focuses on using a 5-step stage gate process. I'll talk about that in a minute. But it's 3 distinct differences. One is to maximize flexibility in response to any problems. No projects are predetermined because time we're fluid in solid waste. Everything's fluid. Second is ideas are scoped and scored utilizing that net zero methodology that I talked about previously. And so that's once we got approval for that, we went forward with that. And then third, and the big difference here, we kind of stole this idea from a couple of other committees, but enhanced it a bit, is that we have a public engagement committee that will independently and score to recommend projects to solve those problems. So that's going to be the distinct kind of cool thing about it. So we have 2 points of assessment in the stage gate process. First of all, there's 5 steps: ideation, scoping, business case development, and action. Those 2 green areas are kind of where the 2 assessment tools occur. One is the net zero scorecard, which is done by the public engagement committee. They'll recommend moving forward where we should put our resources of research and business case development to the board. And then once we get that work done, we'll vet that with our corporate assessment tool, which is what we use to populate the work plan, which you will see for 2026 at a future meeting. So just to kind of give you an idea of what the basis is, the problem gaps are identified basically on a 5-year cycle. We have 5 years, the first 5, this is the strategy. So we have 6 different problem areas that we're focused on right now. And you guys should be well familiar with them because we populated the 2025 projects with that. 2026 projects the same way. We've populated with solutions. This will be the last year where staff alone will be populating these ones. It'll be the public educator or the public engagement committee after this. But you can see that each one's addressed. The only recurring problem gap is the diversion one, and that's because it appears in the Order in Council 96-849 that we talked about for compliance. We're looking at a 15-year kind of timeline for this strategy, as I mentioned, so Strive 2040, and again on 5-year cycles. 2025, we're looking at the plan released. The Solid Waste Committee formed, I call it that for now. 2026, we'll have the projects, that committee will help form the projects developed for the recommendation to the 2027 work plan. 2027, we'll do a solid waste composition study, and that will help us establish our new targets and things like that, getting ready to identify in 2028 the problem gap identifications that we need to do for the next 5-year cycle, and then we develop those projects for solutions, or again, the ideas for the problem gaps, and then we amend the action plan again in 2030, and then we repeat the cycle. That's as simple as you get. These are just basically what measures success. You know, we'll have validations of the successful projects. We'll be providing an update through the committee on that. We'll have diversion targets established and individual project benefits. And then we'll establish measures on project implementation through the motion. So for those projects that maybe don't have an overall standard, those projects will have their own measure that will be reported on, and that'll be supported by the board with the motion. And then every 5 years, we'll also have an analysis on how did we do and how did the strategy work. So stepping forward, August, that's coming up. If this is all good with you guys, then I'll be looking to put the first draft via link August 15th. You'll have access to. Then that'll be ready for the board meeting in August, and then for feedback, all that kind of fun stuff. We'll also go forward with CME after the board meeting. We'll go with CMEI engagement. We'll also provide the final draft, and then the development of the public engagement committee or the solid waste committee terms of reference. And then if all goes well, public strategy release, call for members on that committee, and then we'll nominate the committees and then have our first meeting in November. And really the whole point of this is that we're trying to make a pragmatic tool that engages the public for solutions that occur to our problems. And that's about it. We don't want a dust collector. I'm looking for something that we can engage actively with. So I'm looking for, I guess, feedback and ideas, and if it's all good, just looking for a receive and file.
Any comments or questions?
File.
Thank you, John.
Moved by John, second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Good job, man.
Good
Thank
job.
you. Fun.
Good job, John.
Hard to find time for. I need the next.
Yeah.
I'm working that.
There is a lot of work on that, yeah.
Is that the next one? Solid Waste Committee or Public Engagement Committee, I don't know what we'll call it. Maybe someone in our Public Relations Department will come up with something flashy, Brenda. Again, just a reminder, we have those three processes. The main difference being was we're gonna have this Public Engagement Committee independent scoring. And so the concept of the committee itself, so this is all about the committee, is to enable open communication with the public in solving our problems. We're looking to have core principles: diversity, engagement, transparency, trust. That's what this whole process is, because in the past we've generally done all of this really independent of anybody except for the board. We're looking for a maximum of about 7 members, up to 2 members of the board or alternates, I guess, just to kind of mimic what we have everywhere else. We're looking to stay at the sustainability triangle, kind of net zero concept. We'll be looking for 3 members from each corner, 1 member each of each corner of the sustainability triangle. So a business representation, environmental representation, and then a social representation, someone from the host community.
You have taken a,
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Have we contemplated having a spot on the committee for First Nations representative?
Yeah, so I just put as 3 other members at large. I didn't really, at the end of the day, it's kind of I guess at the purview of the commission. I wasn't sure. It doesn't matter to me who we have on.
That's a good
I
question.
would consider designating a spot specifically for First Nations representation on this as part of our commitment to the municipal calls to action.
yeah,
Sure.
that's a good point, yeah. Moving forward?
Yep, and then base mandate idea, basically, the concept is that they have really kind of 3 functions as a committee. One is the idea assessment That's the primary function here, that's at net zero scoring. Second is the problem gap identification, that's at every year, 5-year cycle. And of course, the validate the projects. And that's so as we do the projects, we'll report back to them, talk about the performance of the project. And so that's the 5 stage gates that we talked about and I mentioned earlier. Each stage, each gate. For idea assessment, this is the primary function. We have that in net zero scorecard. We're gonna have ideas come forward from a number of sources to solve specific problems. The members of that board are gonna score that project. And if it scores high enough, then we'll have that submitted to the staff for further vetting, basically. And then that's when we finish that off, we'll put that to the board basically through the work plan, if it's successful. Problem assessment, again, this is the scoping, the net zero, that's the primary function. The every 5-year function is the identifying the problems and gaps. And this one takes a bit more work, comes from regulations, financials, public input, and studies. The main one will probably be studies, waste composition. This will tell us where our problem gaps are. And so once we identify those, we spend the next 5 years focusing on those major problems. Problem, again, under the problem assessment, I called it, like that word, quinquennial amendments. But basically, it's really replacing those. Remember, I pointed out all those problems. Diversion, again, will be the only one repeating. It'll be there every year. Solid Waste Committee timeline, looking projects for the 2026 budget obviously are already established. Solid Waste Committee will begin meeting in the fall on a bi-monthly basis. Is kind of the plan. Might be a little more early on, so we'll have to do some training and stuff. November, January, March, April, and June to populate the 2027 budget. That'll be the plan. And that's about it. Again, it's not the full terms of reference or anything. Open to any ideas. Obviously, Director Merrifield had one. I'm open to many others. Any others?
I have another question as well. So every 5 years, we're going to review how everything's gone, whether it's been successful. Should every 5 years, we should also review the structure and make sure that it's achieving what we want to achieve with the way it's been set up?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's contemplated is what we're doing working. So I think that,
So
yeah,
that's
there's all
included in
that
that.
in scope, yeah. And it's like, I mean, if the committee's not working, then I think at the 5-year mark, the question for the board is, you know, do we need to take a different approach, or maybe it has to be scrapped? I don't know, but I don't anticipate that. I think it's more of a forward-thinking committee trying to take specific actions so that people have the influence on what we are going to do, so we anticipate that it's gonna be successful, but, you know, kind of who knows, so yeah. But I don't, we wanna get into a group, we wanna get into a group that, you know, wants to strive to make change and execute projects and have some fun with it, so I think it'll work.
Phil?
I just wanted to make one quick comment is, I want to thank Mark and his team for putting this together. It's really important, and it's very different than our other committees. That's what I want to really clarify. The Green Mountain is an operations, it's a very efficient operations. And, you know, if I've learned anything in my public sector career, if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? And it works very, very well. However, they're also a body and a department and a mandate that is always trying to improve, always trying to find new ways. And due to 2 facts, one is that we developed all these other committees recently, and we're establishing a new norm on how we want to engage with our mandates. And secondly, through the EIA of last year, we discovered that there's a lot of opportunity to establish greater linkages with our communities. This came about. So I think it's a really nice thing to come that, you know, while this is a matured, well-functioning they've come to a conclusion to establish the same values that we're experiencing in other mandates, to say let's bring them in, but also let's protect that operational efficiency. We don't want this to come back and say, I'm a little bit slower now on these things. Nobody wants to hear that, and we're creating this committee with that in mind, to say let's bring it in at the appropriate level, at the appropriate timing, and on the appropriate challenges, as your process says. So thanks for finding that balance, Mark. It's not an easy one, and I really look forward to seeing how this committee will support your operations in the time to come.
Very good. Any comments or questions moving forward?
Move the recommendation.
Yeah. Received
Thank
and
you.
filed, moved by John, second by Libby. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded. Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. You did really well sitting here earlier on not saying a word.
I didn't say a word.
You bit your tongue. I know you were biting your tongue.
I was. I wanted to.
Appreciate that.
You can grab a popsicle on the way out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. You did a good job. You get a popsicle.
Suckers and.
Yeah. You get.
He's right there.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. We're gonna go to, what do we have here now? Mid-year with Phil.
Yeah, this is something standard that we do. This is where we're at with the approved work plan for 2025. I'm going to opt not to go through the presentation. I'm going to assume you've read it. The news that I did want to share is that, you know, this is really the product of not the FRSC but the committees. This is the board's work, the vision of the board, your own staff that are involved in various, at the local level, on various different projects that we have. And we're reporting that of the projects that we have for this year, which are 41, 88% of them are either active or complete, and that's a good spot to be about mid-year. We're progressing through it. This is your opportunity to take a look at where we're heading. If there was something that you're saying we're way off, we need to change course, we'd want to hear it from us. But from our perspective, especially because we're presenting the 2026 work plan, the committees that we consult with regularly are still progressing through the work plan. They're still motivated by these. They're still saying we've got a lot to do. Staff are extremely busy trying to achieve those as well. So I think this is a good mid-year check-in. This is consistent with where I would hope we would be. I don't see a need to make any course changes at this stage, but if there are some that come up, I really urge members of the board to come forward and say, I think we're missing something here, or we need to change something up. So it is a receive and file.
Yep. So,
Motion to receive and file.
any questions on, okay, motion to receive and file, second by Jim,
And I have a
second.
question.
Yep, well, if somebody want a second, I have to get it on the table.
Second.
Oh, you did, John, I'm sorry. Second by John, question on the motion.
So on page 60, there's a sentence that I don't understand.
Mhm.
It's added new to the 2025 work plan. Develop a region-wide apparatus identification system with standardized unit numbering to improve multi-agency coordination and response efficiency, and reassign designations to avoid duplicate call signs. Does anybody know what that means?
Of course.
I mean, is this just mumbo jumbo? What's the meaning here?
Oh, no, there's absolutely something. This is originating from this is a shift coming from the Public Safety Committee. And what it is on regional base calls where there's a lot of apparatus that show up.
Okay.
Guess what? Everybody's got a engine one.
Mm.
So this engine one, go to the front. And then there's like three platoon chiefs that are saying, okay, and the committee said, let's fix this. Let's get this over with. So they're going to go through a process of reassigning basically engine numbers and apparatus numbers. So it's a quick fix and efficiency for regional base work. And but well pointed. We should try to make it a little bit more succinct and clear.
This would come in
I didn't know
mutual
which
aid.
department it was referring
Yeah.
to, first of all.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you saying, Jim?
Say, this would come in, like for mutual aid.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, if St. Martin's responds and Simons and KV responds,
Yeah.
they all could have truck number one.
Yeah.
So we
Good
wanna
point.
try to give each truck in each department, and actually there's 27 departments in the funded region. So it's gonna be a long drawn out process. And then the other thing, the part two to that is that if we have a call, we don't wanna have to wait for somebody to call for backup, that we want the PMCC, the dispatcher, to automatically dispatch your mutual aid to you, so that that truck is on the way.
Yeah.
And if you don't need it, you can turn it off, but if it's gonna be on the way, so you don't have to wait and say, hey, now I need more help.
Yeah. So I get it now, and maybe we could just make it a little clearer that that refers to public safety apparatus.
I get paid by the words.
Okay, any more on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried, thank you. Okay, let's go on to social mandate update with Brenda.
And Aaron.
Oh, and Aaron too. Oh, wow.
So as you all know, last year we took on the new social mandate. We worked that into our needs assessment, came up with a plan with how the Community Development Committee would tackle this. And we hired our coordinator, Erin McKenney, to take on this homelessness response. And so she's here to give us a mid-year, kind of halfway through her time with us, update on how this is going. And you'll also hear at the end how she's going to be engaging, coming forward with each of the communities around the region as well. And I just want to give a little plug that, you know, we were very fortunate to get Erin. She comes with a very strong background in this sector and is the perfect person to be leading us through this. So I'll turn it over to Erin.
Thank you, and thank you for that performance review, I guess. So I'm really excited to be here and share what I've been working on since I started this role back in February. So right now I have 5 key projects that I'm focused on. So here I've just included a very quick summary of each of them, and I'm going to dive into most of them a little bit deeper, but there's one on there that I didn't make a slide for, and that's this idea of working with food banks. So that idea came from the Community Development Needs Assessment, where there were concerns raised across the region about increased usage at the food banks. Most communities were saying they've noticed that it's doubled. And food banks can really give us a good idea of what's happening within each community. They act really as a bit of a window into the lives of some of your community's most vulnerable members. And so food bank usage, it's often described sort of as the canary in the coal mine, and it can be a strong indicator of other larger issues that are sort of bubbling beneath the surface. So I'm going to be connecting with all of the food banks throughout the region and really trying to find out what's going on within each community, and I'll be able to share some information back that's unique to the reality of folks within your specific areas. The next project is this homelessness response toolkit. So this idea came from after a series of meetings that I had with a variety of stakeholders and trying to figure out, first of all, like, what am I doing? Where do I fit within the homelessness response within this region? And how can I be useful and contribute to the sector? Because we don't want to duplicate work that's already happening. We want something that's meaningful, but meaningful not just in St. John, meaningful throughout the whole region. And so the toolkit does that. It is filling a gap in the sector, so it's filling a gap here in St. John where a lot of the work is really happening. And it's going to enhance the work of government, of nonprofits, and of community, and it avoids any sort of duplication. So the main idea is that this is a central resource that will share best practices with businesses, with municipal staff, with the RDM, and with interested community members. It's going to be a quick resource that can be accessed so to help people navigate different situations that come up. The toolkit is going to be a living document, and it's going to be released in pieces and phases, so it's not coming out all at once. Really, it's focusing on the most important things coming out first. So the first pieces are going to be aimed for local businesses here in St. John, and they will be released to coincide with the opening of the first green zone in August. The remaining pieces are going to follow quickly, and they will be for the other communities in the region. So this is not just a St. John tool, this is for all of the communities, and it will be personalized and tailored to the needs and questions that each community has. It's going to have a whole bunch of sections, but probably the section that's the most relevant, especially today, is the what to do if section. So that's really a how-to guide for folks that are using the toolkit. It's going to have a list of common scenarios and how to navigate them or how to respond in those situations. So I have a list that's already together that's very much geared towards St. John, and that was come up with in collaboration with staff from the city, with nonprofits, and with social development. But I anticipate that that list will evolve and change as I meet with the other communities and understand the unique needs there as well. Okay, I'm trying to keep this to 5 minutes. So on to the city of St. John. So I think when I was first hired, it was shared that that would be one of my main focuses, especially getting started, is supporting the city in their response to homelessness. So I have joined the team that is doing the work around the green zones and implementing the Housing for All strategy. I'm sure you all heard how impressive the work that the city is doing, but I really do want to reiterate that what is happening in St. John is pretty groundbreaking. The city is really leading the charge when it comes to responding to homelessness. And so I feel pretty excited to be part of the group that's actually doing this work and implementing some interesting strategies. So in my work, I'm supporting, but also I'm leading the coordination of an enhanced SHARPS program, which will start here in St. John, and I know that's a St. John initiative, and also I think that's very relevant to the other communities in the region. So really what I want you to know is that I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about the approach the city's taken. I'm learning a lot about what is working, and probably will be learning a lot about what hasn't been working. And then I'm excited to be able to share that back with the other communities, because I really want you to see me as a regional resource and someone that's here to support all of you as you navigate the challenges that come with homelessness. And about homelessness. So I think, everyone in this room is aware homelessness is a societal issue. It's not just a big city issue. But in St. John, it's not a secret. We have very obvious, visible homelessness. So you see a lot of people outside on the sidewalk. You know that they are not housed. But that doesn't mean that homelessness doesn't exist in the other communities. And really, what happens is in smaller communities, in suburban or rural communities, it can look really different and it can feel really different. It's an extremely complex issue. So I've been working on developing what I'm calling a learning series. It's called Common Ground, Conversations about Housing and Homelessness. So the idea behind this is to start having meaningful conversations as a region about these issues, but also being able to bring in experts, knowledgeable folks that can share information about, what does homelessness look like maybe in a more rural community, and what are some steps that you can take to respond? What does it look like in a suburban area? How can we respond? Because the resources are different, the services are different, and it looks and feels a little bit different too. So I've pulled together some topics, and they are there on the slide. That's just sort of a sample. And I think the thing right now that I've been trying to figure out, and Brenda's been trying to figure out, is how do we deliver this? What is the best way to share this information? How do we engage with the right folks within each community? Because we want these to be really open and meaningful conversations. So very open to suggestions when it comes to that. So that it has the greatest impact. And then, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask you now?
Of course.
Okay. Have you had any contact with the Chamber of Commerce?
Not yet. No, but Alexia has a connection and is connecting me with that.
And when it comes to your SHARPS program,
Mm-hmm.
is this something for the businesses to participate in? Or is this something that, because it's a big, and I'm glad to see it on there.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem. There's SHARPS everywhere.
Yes.
Needles everywhere, right? But I know that Avenue B and the city have tried to put SHARPS containers out. Yeah,
And that
I'll
are
let you
used
go.
to
Go
varying
ahead.
levels. Yeah. So part of what I've been doing is connecting with Avenue B and trying to understand from their perspective, what is an enhanced SHARPS program? Because it sounds really great, but what does that actually mean and where do they see the greatest impact, and then connecting back with Kara specifically at the city and trying to communicate that information. And so there is, it is one of the initiatives that was listed out in the Housing for All strategy was an enhanced SHARPS program, but it's something that there wasn't someone to focus in on it. So right now it's a little bit in the dreaming phases, and then it's right now, then we're talking about what can it look like, what's the budget, what is the phased rollout. It's not specific to businesses, no, it will be about larger containers in the community, but also ensuring that there's human resources in place to maintain those, because once they fill up, someone needs to empty them. Also, you know, are there enough personal SHARPS containers? If people are using laundry containers, which happens for SHARPS, do we have a proper label to show that that's a biohazard, that it's biohazardous waste and not an empty laundry bin,
And that's,
things like that.
that's
Yeah.
part of the problem. The other
Yes.
part of the problem is people use and then they don't care. There could be a container right there.
Yeah.
Because once you've used, it's.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what I will be able to do
I
about
know.
that specific issue.
I think the toolkit addresses that,
but-
too, just how to, if you come across it.
Yeah, so if you personally encounter one, there is an example, a scenario in the toolkit about what you can do on an individual basis, who you can call, what support you can get, how to safely clean the needle yourself if you would like to be able to do that, those sorts of things. But it's probably not going to solve the issue of people discarding them on the ground completely.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
Norm.
No,
Jim has a
Not at all.
question.
Yeah, what is the long-term goal here
the long-term goal of the toolkit or
of this whole process here?
So the long-term goal is to have a region that is ready and able to respond to the issues of homelessness that arise, not just in the city of St. John, where right now it's a crisis situation in St. John, right? And I don't think that that's
So
a
is it the
secret.
goal to give everybody a home?
Yes, of course, but we don't have the
Resources.
ability to do
And
that.
that's part
If
of
I
my
did, it
question,
would be
is the
done.
government paying for this?
Oh,
Yeah, well, there's a number of different avenues that we've seen has taken place. So the federal government has come in very strong within the city of St. John and working with them. For us, we've received funding for Erin as a placement, and we're seeking to continue that for next year as well with it. So right now, what we're doing has not really impacted this budget to move forward as well. So.
Because I see this is the same as what John pointed out with community development. We have a gap.
Yep.
The gap is funding, so we can put all of the plans in place, but if you don't have funding to back it up,
I think
Yeah.
one of
Then we hit a
the
brick wall.
major, yeah, for sure, and one of the major pieces is that it is impacting at the local community level, and we've seen local governments have had to respond and come up. So we're trying to go, okay, where is this? And if we identify something, then there's advocacy that would then go back to the province as well, if there was something large to respond to that. That we navigate this. How do we pay for the SHARPS collection program? Right now, again, the city has received some funding from the federal government to be able to implement the green zones, et cetera, because they had a plan in place. And we saw the funds come from the federal government and siphon in the province to St. John. Because they were ready and they had that collaboration there and prepared and ready to go. So I think as we also demonstrate, and as at the meeting with the minister, that we're demonstrating as well at the same time that here in the Fundy region, we've got a plan and we're working together and bringing the folks together as well.
Is that information of how to deal with needle stuff going to be out to the public too?
yes,
Right.
yes it will, yeah.
Do you have a question?
Erin, I love your passion for the work you're doing. One of the questions I have is, with homelessness, is there any idea of even a percentage of those who are addicted, either alcohol or drugs, as compared to those who are homeless? without any eviction? Like, is there any idea of that?
So when HDC, the Human Development Council, do their point in time count, there are questions that are asked about substance use. So there would be numbers. It would be, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I know that it is a great number of folks that are homeless that are struggling with addiction. I would also say that research has shown, and the stats are, when people become homeless, the vast majority do not have an addiction. And it's while they are homeless and trying to survive that develops. And so if we can try to prevent people from ending up on the street, that's the goal to really being successful.
Because to Jen's point, you know, the idea is to get everyone housed.
Yes.
But I think there's a critical point there where, and I don't know if the green community is a clean community or not, John, that's opening in August with, I think, 57 to be completed by the end of December.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems. Like,
Yeah.
once you house somebody, they have every right you do as a homeowner,
Yeah.
right?
Which is critical to how successful this is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, yeah, to say, you know what, here's a place for you to live, but you're not allowed to have visitors, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. That's not what this is about.
So I know that the 12 Neighbors, who are the group that have built the green zones and are also going to be operating the green zones, they met with potential residents and they asked a series of questions, and they did ask questions about drug use and whether or not they wanted to be able to use in home. And so I think they're taking that information and trying to tailor, because there's going to be 4 courtyards total. So each courtyard could have a different set of expectations or be designed slightly differently for the residents that are going to be there.
Libby,
Yeah.
when I was in the FCM meetings in Ottawa, I had a really good conversation with a counselor from Montreal, and that was about homelessness. And I had asked him, I said, so, you know, if the homeless people is because of their addiction, or he said, well, we've actually done a study on that, and it's 50-50. 50% of the people are homeless because they cannot afford to pay the rent, and 50% are homeless because of their addictions. So that was the numbers that they have in Quebec, or in Montreal.
Brittany, you have a question?
Thanks. This is great work so far, Aaron. I particularly love the concept of the homelessness response toolkit, you know, especially for the outlying areas. If a tent pops up, oh gosh, what do we do? How do we handle this situation? But my question, I think, is either more for Brenda or Phil. So when it comes to the social mandate, and maybe I've missed this, have we gotten anything from the provincial government outlining what our responsibilities are with this mandate?
Good
They-
question.
So,
They've given us the titles.
Yes,
And
I know that, but.
last year they did more work than this year. They really tied it to homelessness. So they didn't say it no. The answer is no.
I didn't think I
The answer is
missed
no.
they really are trying to say, here it is,
You
you
deal with it.
address it.
Yeah.
And I think the attempt is to try to lead, so that's why we did include it in our needs assessment and pull around, and that's where we landed, was the homelessness response. Trying to address that, yes, mental health was part of it, but, and that's a wraparound service that automatically has to be there. But putting it in as something that we had to directly tackle, we left it out.
Yeah, and the reason I have that question is because it's obviously a problem, and municipalities on the front line of having to deal with it, but it really is a provincial responsibility.
It is.
And we have to be very, very cautious about spending municipal tax dollars, which were never meant to be spent on this kind of thing, to do that. So I'm glad to hear that, you know, that your position has been paid for by the province. And I think this is critical work that absolutely has to be done. I think we need to be crystal clear on what our responsibilities are as an RSC, and making sure that we hold the province to account for paying for what are their responsibilities.
And that was part of the message back with the minister as well.
That's been a concern of this board from the word
Yeah.
go, right? They're dumping all these mandates on us and not giving us any finances to even go there, or even if you have it, they have people that deal with this stuff, and now they're saying you guys deal with it, right?
And they're closely, sorry, Phil, they're at the table
Okay.
with social, we work very,
Okay.
The only thing I'd add is that this is being paid for by local governments right now, for those that are experiencing
Yes.
some of the most acute problems. So like St. John,
Yeah.
well, I used to work for the city of St. John, and there was a concerted effort not to invest, not to engage. That ship has sailed.
Yeah.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
And you're not the only one. St. Stephen has to spend their local government. So it's a big problem, and this idea of just saying, well, it's a provincial jurisdiction, I'm not gonna debate that. That is
Mhm.
true.
Mhm.
But our current reality is that it's flooded over.
Yeah.
And now this is almost more, and this is part of Aaron's work, supporting those that are in the most need to get through it, because we also acknowledge that it is likely to happen in every other community
Yep.
in some regard over time. So that's sort of where we're at, but you're absolutely right. Like, we're not trying to take the biggest bite out of this. We're trying to say, what can we provide as support?
Yeah, and just as a follow-up, I know that UMMB advocated very strongly for a new services bucket under the new fiscal reform structure that would address costs associated with homelessness, housing precarity, all of that kind of thing. That was rejected temporarily, at least, by this iteration of that. But I think it's something that we're going to continue to advocate for, because this is a problem that's not going away anytime soon. And you know, it really is that municipalities don't have the capacity to pay for these things in the way that like an order of government with a lot more opportunity to generate revenue does.
Chair,
Yep.
I do apologize. I know that we are
Yep, running.
having a good
Okay.
discussion here, but it's been 20 minutes on this subject.
Well, that blew my 5-minute time limit out of the water. Sorry about that. So I guess just to conclude, I can't turn that on anymore, but next steps, that's really how I wanted to wrap this up, because I'm sure you're all curious what the next steps are. So this information will all be shared with the CAOs and the RDM in their next meeting. The toolkit is going to start being released in August with the what to do if section, and because that's really the most pressing for the businesses that are going to be around the green zones. How do they respond to different things, but also other members of the community as well. If anyone's interested, I do have some samples of those, or of a few of them with me, and I'm happy to share. I'm going to be reaching out to all of the communities around the table, so I can start understanding, you know, what you want to know within your specific community. And then our plan is to house this toolkit on our website, so I'll also be touching base to figure out the best way to link it.
Right. Thank you for that, Aaron.
Thank you.
Great work so far.
I'll take one.
Sure.
Receive and file.
Yeah. Motion to receive and file, moved by John, second by Brittany. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Good work, Aaron, thank you.
Thank you.
I can tell you mom and dad now.
Oh, yes, please let him know.
All right, let's move on to budget. 6.1 regional strategy, final recommendation. Is that Brenda?
Yes, got it, just stay right there.
Yep. Trying to keep things going.
What?
There's such good discussion. You don't want to break that discussion up, right? So you-
Yeah, I know.
So,
You keep on me.
and I will be, sorry, Chair. I will be brief. I just have a couple slides here. You have in your package, as you know, we went through a process to update the regional strategy, and you have in your package the final version of the update. This final version will live once it is passed. The final version would live on our website beside the original, because the original regional strategy contains all the background information, et cetera, and then this would be live alongside it. In your package as well, there was also there was a track changes version, so you could see where we made the changes. Anything that was revised is in red, anything new is in green. So revised or deleted is in red, and then the other changes. So, but with this update to the regional strategy, I have it here. We are, we see this as a real shift moving forward. So we're at the halfway point of update of the regional strategy. It started in 2023, goes till 2028. There were two key themes that we continue to hear through all the feedback that we have collected, and that is to ensure that we meet the needs of local communities, that's the center of all the work that we do, and then to identify demonstration projects or tangible outcomes. So we've done the first phase, the first 2 years of the regional strategy, and as you know, a lot of that has been studies, reviews, backgrounds, basically understanding what our mandates are and what the situation is out there. We're at this second phase now where where we're ready to move towards these demonstration projects, really starting to look at, are there different types of agreements? Are they going to be at the regional level? Will they be sub-regional agreements? Look for collaborative projects, et cetera. Again, these demonstrable, tangible actions that we can take at the Regional Service Commission level. As we're making this shift, we wanted to really talk about and think about how we make that shift. It's easy to come forward and bring, here's what we found, here's what we believe we should do, but now we need to be shifting over to this, how do we make those projects move forward together on a collaborative basis? What do we need to do? What do we need to do as staff to ensure that that's going to happen? So we've put down some things that we believe need to happen at that point as well. So we need to make sure we don't just come with a final plan to you and say, ta-da, we've got it all worked out. We need to pull people in from the beginning, start at the conception point. We need very clear visions and outcomes. What are we trying to achieve together? Have those open dialogues. From the board, we need your vision. And we need that clear, this is what we need together to be able to do this work. We need that, and the senior leadership across the region as well to have that clear vision. This is good for the region if we do this together. We also have to be willing to take some risks with some of these projects as we move forward and know that not everyone is going to succeed. That if we're going to take a risk, there is failure that can go along with it, but we can't know if we don't try. Mm-hmm. And then being, there's all those studies, et cetera, they haven't completely gone away. We're still, there's going to be times when we need to understand what the situation is. There is, so that continuous improvement as well. And that, but you have the full report, which is, whoops, I turned it off instead of, you have the full report and in front of you. It's a conversation we've been having here. We wanted to bring it forward as part of this regional strategy update as well.
Thank you for that, Brenda. Any comments or questions?
Move the recommendation.
Moved by John, second by Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Thanks, Brenda.
Carried. Thank you, Brenda. Great work. Okay, next is
Phil. 2026 work plan. Good job, Brenda. Thank you for
Thank you,
that.
Brenda.
Yes, thanks. This is exciting. This is the first time that we do this. This is the first time for many today. First, we updated our regional strategy, which is excellent. The next one was an ambitious task placed upon the FRC is to adopt our work plan before the budgeting process, so that we're guided. We have clear set of eyes on what we want to accomplish, and that can inform the budgeting process and can inform the discussions that we take on through the budget deliberation process. This process started a long time ago. Started actually through the budget development approval, or budget approval in October 2024 for this year's budget. Resolution was there to say let's get this thing moving, and we've gone through this iteration of process, which basically guided the regional strategy update. Whenever we consulted on the regional strategy, we consulted on the 2026 work plan, and we've gotten to a spot that now we are comfortable to present to you what that plan looks like. I'm not going to go through the FRC's priorities for 2025-2026, but this was adopted by this board earlier this year, and that continues to guide our efforts. So this is by the numbers for our 2026 work plan. One thing that we've heard is don't do too much at the risk of doing something great. So we continue this process of narrowing down through this new vast array of mandates that we have. So I do like the trend line. It's not, I think we're leveling off a little bit, but in 2024 we had 74 actions, down 40, and now we're dropping this down to 36 actions. So it's not dramatic, but we are still trying to narrow that down. I've also we've broken down for you the projects divided by category as well as department, and you're seeing how they're broken out accordingly. We also have 4 projects that are completely conditional. We will not pursue them if we don't get funding, so they're currently not part of our work plan for 2026. I'm not going to go through the entire work plan with you. I did want to identify that one thing that we're very excited about is those projects that we believe have the highest likelihood of impact and success across the region. And what's great is that we are finding them across all our different departments and all our different mandates. We're finding those opportunities through there. So they're identified here. You're hearing some of the stuff that have been, that Aaron as well as Brenda talked about through the community development. It's really just the animation of the needs assessment that was recently adopted. Those are big. The public safety is the risk assessment would be completed, and we have some action items originating from that that are directly from the committee and the needs that have been identified from that committee. Solid waste, you've heard some of them already from Mark's presentation earlier, so they're included. And the others are there as well in terms of projects. I would say some of the biggest projects that are originating for next year in terms of impact are around some of these newer mandates that we have. The regional facilities, this Canada Games Aquatic Centre would be moving into construction phase next year. That's a massive shift. And in regional transportation, we have the execution of a recommendation to the region on long-term pilot project for transportation. And that's a massive undertaking that is projected for 2026. So I'm putting this out for the board. We've received a copy of this in some form in May as well as in June. For the staff, we are energized by this, by the commitment that the committees have placed into this feedback. This aligns with the regional strategy as well. And one other thing I wanted to share, because this is a concern that you may have, is, well, what if we adopt this strategy, but the cost of this strategy is astronomical, and then we come back next month and say, well, you adopted the strategy, so therefore this is how much it's going to cost. We've done a cost analysis of this, and we believe that these funds are, or the existing capacity of our budget can fulfill this mandate from this work plan. It's not expected to leverage additional cost on our members. We'll have to move things around in our own departmental budgets to make this work. But this is something that we believe. And in the situation that it cannot, after we finalize the budget, we'd come back to tell you that we'd have to make amendments to the work plan. But at this stage, we're confident that it can be done. So with that, the recommendation is to adopt the 2026 work plan.
Anybody want any questions or please? Okay. So you can adopt it, Jim, is that right?
Yep.
So Jim, you're saying we want to adopt this work plan? Moved by Jim, second by Brittany. On the question. All right. Nancy?
So I have a couple of concerns here. So I'm looking at page 116.
Mhm.
And something I see there is a new service, explore bridge funding solutions to accelerate and increase affordable and deeply affordable housing developments led by NGOs and cooperatives across the region. So a number of questions here. Is this even our mandate? This is about business. It's not about the tax dollars, shouldn't be about the tax dollars of local governments. What sort of magnitude are we talking about in funding here? What's the risk to the local municipalities? And like, I just, it's something that I don't understand why it's even here, why it should be in our purview at all, and certainly not something I could support at this stage.
Okay.
And I have another one.
Sure.
Shall I just, yeah.
Sure.
So on page 116 and 118, I see two things. I'm looking for opportunities to use efficiencies of scale, maybe even economies of scale. And I see a couple of things here. The first is a regional symposium on the 6 A's of food security. So regional symposiums are expensive in terms of human resources and dollars. And I see two other things that could that not be combined with. The first is you're gonna do a community development symposium in 2026. I mean, is there a possibility to combine that with that? Or what about the summit? I guess what I'm getting at, does this have to be a standalone regional summit, which I think is a big expense? And along the same line, the other one that I see is on page 218. Deliver a regional origin destination survey to support implementation of regional transportation. So we've already done one big regional transportation study a year and a half ago or whatever. We've done now another study to produce a charter for a third piece of work. And this would be a fourth piece of work in regional transportation. And I just wonder, could that not somehow be combined with the one that's upcoming? I just see, I see duplication here,
Okay,
and that's my concern.
very good.
I'll start to answer. I will ask Brenda to follow up on some others, but at this stage for the bridge funding, we're looking at different options that we can support where there is a gap in the housing need. Is it more money for us? It is not going to be leveraged off of membership fees. We're looking at alternative sources for that. So that's being examined right now. It's an explore. It's not a provide. It is a defined need. I do believe, and this is where Brenda can confirm, it's in our regional strategy, but I suspect it's come out through our needs assessment as well, which has been provided. So at this time, there's no added cost defined for this. There's no decision to provide for it. It's to provide the exploratory component so that we come back to the board and say we found something that could be used for this. So we're investigating a couple different options right now. One of them being, I'll share what we're currently investigating is investment fund for the retirement of the landfill. We have that. It just sits. Is that fund, could it be invested in to support some of these costs here while not jeopardizing the outcomes of the retirement fund for our landfill? So we're investigating that as an option.
That would be the question, what's the risk?
That's right. So that's what we've got.
Is that even our mandate, I guess is my question.
Well, I'd say that we have a mandate to improve affordable housing. It is part of our mandate. It's one of the options that we have. We do not want to become a new player in this field because there's a lot of already being done. This is a space that has not been exercised completely. We think that there's an opportunity for us to see if we can support it. So we're simply looking to see if we can provide some value in there and enhance the ability for each one of our communities to deliver regional or for housing in their respective communities. So we've identified that. We've consulted with the community to identify to ensure that we're not duplicating. But I'm with you. You know, it's hard to find those spots that we're not stepping on toes. It's a space that's already, you know, busy. So this is one that we've identified that we might be able to. On the symposium and the 6 A's, do you want to take that one, Brenda?
Yeah, and I think so that
I think there might be an error if it's listed twice. There's only one symposium under community development, and it is for food security. That it will happen in 2026. So it is, it was originally scheduled to happen in the fall this year, but we've moved it to February 2026. And it is basically, that's something that came out of our needs assessment as well, but it is bringing together folks from all operating within the food security area, including faith-based groups that provide a lot of food security as
So
well.
it and the Community Development Symposium are one and the same?
It's one and the same, sorry, if it's listed twice, that's an error.
Well, it doesn't say that this is the community,
Yeah,
it doesn't
it-
identify it as being the same thing, so.
Yeah, sorry, no, that's an error.
I know where it comes from. Is we said we were moving it out of the 2025 work plan. So we did say that, but what we didn't share is that it's been moved to
Renamed,
2026 and
yeah.
renamed.
With a
Yeah.
proper name.
Yeah, so that's what it takes. And on your last question on the origin destination
Transportation, yeah.
survey, I think what you've said is exactly how we're perceiving it. This is a new data set that we have. We've actually got this financed entirely, so it won't be completed until 2026, and it would feed in directly into the work that we're doing. It will actually provide us, a subsidy to the project that we have for the regional transportation pilot. So this is something else. It's, from my understanding, it's not been done regionally before. It's or at least recently in our assessment. So this is the first of its kind, and it will be an important thing to say where are people traveling to and from, and at what volume, and across different communities, not just St. John and Quispamsis or Rossay. This will be across the board, and that will have a really important data point for us to use when formulating a recommendation on how we want to establish a new regional transportation service.
Good. Libby?
Thank you. I had some questions about some of the items that are listed here as well. I would prefer that we put this off until the next meeting. I need more time to process and to go through this, and I prefer to have my CAO have an opportunity to discuss some of my concerns with me, that because there are some things here that that raise some concern. Even the finalized detailed design for the Canada Games Aquatic Center enhancement project and pursue construction. The left hand can't move until the right hand signs the document that yes, you're going to have funding for this, or I would just prefer that we take a little more time. There was a lot of literature in this package, and I think to make hasty decisions, that kind of jeopardizes my integrity with my counsel if I make a hasty decision. I feel like I really need more time on it. I would ask the mover if we can't put this off until August.
I'll maybe just share, there's no rush, right? This was the vision. We provided a template of how we were going to do it. If you're feeling uncomfortable that you need more data, we shouldn't vote on it. There's no rush on this. And it's the first time that we do it, right? At this stage, we're comfortable enough. Last month, we were not comfortable to present to you a recommendation. At this stage, we think there's been sufficient. That because when you go to different people about engaging, they're like, it's done, stop asking me, and I think we're there. But that doesn't mean that there's not maybe a sober second thought to review.
Yeah, so to that point, you've had an ability to give your sober second thought. Now, I'm in your position that you were in last month, so that's where I see myself.
That's totally fair. So this is the first time we do it. I knew it was going to be challenging because this is next year. We're still thinking about this year, and this is why this is ambitious. It's ambitious to say we've established our full work plan for next year, and that we're confident that this is all going to happen. We adopted this year's work plan in February.
So I would make a motion into my amendment to put off the 2026 FRSC work plan until our next meeting in August.
So, motion by Jim to table it to the next meeting. Seconder? Oh, who was?
Yeah, I think I was the second.
You were.
I'm fine with that amendment, Jim.
You're fine with that? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you. Good discussion. Very good. Thanks for bringing those points. Okay, we're moving on to, where are we at?
KPI
Yeah,
presentation.
the KPI from Graham.
Cassie,
Get
slides up.
Larry.
I can start talking without the, great. Grab that remote as well. So we've heard about the regional strategy, work plan. Now we're going to talk about how we measure the success of both of those things. So this project is about ensuring that we're measuring through all of this what truly matters, not necessarily just counting what we do, but the difference and the value that we bring to all of our members, to the citizens of the Fundy region collectively, and tracking that difference. And hopefully we can accomplish that through this project. So with that in mind, as you know, we've just heard about the regional strategy. We're a few years in. And that strategy set out some ambitious goals. And we need to ensure that the measurements and the outcomes are just as ambitious in their scope. So with that in mind, we're working with Alan Gates from ThinkWell Research and Strategy, who many of you might know from his strategic work around the region, to get an outside perspective, to evaluate best practices, to make sure that we're refining our objectives, goals, strategies, everything, to make sure they're as effective as possible. And this is all going to start out by asking those types of questions. What are the measures we bring? What are best practices? Given everything we've just heard about the regional strategy over the last few years, what are the most significant changes in our scope? What challenges exist within our current measurement approach and the gaps that those represent? How do we demonstrate our value to our members? And what are the gaps to implement it that maybe these measures can help us address? So some of the key objectives of this, we're going to review the metrics that we have currently. We never quite finalized a scorecard after the regional strategy process, so this is basically going back to what was being used and drafted, and even how we present other things, like, and I'll talk about building permits issued and the number of reports that we need to produce and that kind of thing. Because we want to reflect that these are tied to our original services and mandates, but also reflect the continued growth in our organization and our responsibilities. Really, this is about moving from just counting activities to really measuring impact. And that's really at the heart of this whole issue. We operate, obviously, across diverse mandates, from public safety to community development. We need ability to track our performance in these different service and mandate levels, while also reflecting the overall growth and performance of the broader organizational level as well. And really, we want metrics that drive improvement, not just report on status. This is towards an ongoing movement to drive continuous improvement within the FRSC. And I think that getting good measurements and asking these questions now will help us get to those decisions later on. So these, as I just said, measurements can help us make those strategic choices to improve our services and make sure that we're driving the impact that we're after. So our approach is going to be to start off with a deep dive into the revised regional strategy, what was created as a framework for a scorecard, all the different measures we produce at a different level, who's contributing additional measurements through that process as well. We certainly get additional measures from Envision St. John, for example. We also want to shift our mindset from just outputs to outcomes. I think that's a really important part of this process, where we look more at what difference we made rather than just what did we do this year. And this process and all these questions are going to be brought up to not only our internal staff, but to members of our various committees, to the regional CAOs and RDM, and of course here at the board level. So we're planning a board engagement at likely the same day as the board meeting, tentatively scheduled for September, with Alan, who'll come in work with us to ask the right questions, get the feedback, hopefully have an engaging session where everyone can ask questions, respond to these same elements, and we're going to target then the outcome after those sessions and meeting with committees. Some of that will just be interviews conducted with questions via email, for example, to save everyone's time. And then prior to the regional summit, we'll hopefully have either a fully completed or draft completed scorecard and new KPI strategy. So really the heart of what we're trying to do here, and I'll do this briefly, we're just trying to leave you with a bit of food for thought before we go. So that when you come in September to talk about this, you're primed, ready, you've had an opportunity to consider not only the new work plan, but everything else that we're doing in the regional strategy. So, as I mentioned, we want to change our perspective on this. So, rather than just the number of permits issued, how many committee meetings did we hold, how many reports or new studies did we do? We want to look at, for example, in the same question, were those permits processed efficiently? Do those meetings actually lead to better actions and value? And did those reports drive change? Is there a new policy as an outcome? Is there a new program or a demonstration pilot that came out as a result of it? Just as an example. Because we want to answer this question of what does success look like? And how do we measure that success? And really at the end of the day, are we providing a difference? At the end of this, we use the word value a lot these days about delivering, but it's really about that quantifiable, qualitative difference for everyone who lives in our region and for the lives of, well, even the board member and how you go about your business in your own member community. So we really want to create that vision initially before we discuss this. So when in our future state we're truly succeeding across all of our mandate areas, what would be different for each of you as members in your communities, for the citizens that as public servants we serve, for the region as a whole. And we want to make sure that these principles guide our new metrics. These are rhetorical questions for today. You don't have to chime in the interest of time. Just seed them in your mind. We want to know what you feel about these metrics too. Are we getting the right balance of leading and lagging indicators? In other words, are we looking just through the rearview mirror, or are we looking through the windshield as well? About do we have the confidence of the region? Are we making good decisions rather than just the numbers of things that we did along the way? How frequently should we measure each of these metrics? Are these all annual ones? Do we report on some of them monthly, while other ones are at the end of each regional strategy stream? What's the frequency? That's important here too. And who sees those results? So how do we communicate those? We want to make sure that those measurements don't just have value for this table or maybe the CAOs, but that you can go back to your councils, that you can answer the question. When we think ahead at the end of the regional strategy in 2028, for example, if a citizen asks you, what difference does the FRSC make? That you have a real answer, that you have some data, that you have something to point to that should be enabled by this scorecard, and that you have confidence in not only what we've done along the way through those actions in the strategy, but that this whole crazy process called an RSC actually made sense for you. So that's my pitch for the KPI exercise. Think about that for the next month or two, and I look forward to hearing from everyone later. And if you're on a committee, I'm sure you'll be hearing from us before that time. So,
thank you for that, Graham.
Well done. Move the recommendation.
Moved by John, second by Nancy.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Thanks, Graham. Good job. Next is Phil.
Yeah, this, I will not speak to this. This is something we do as well before the submission of our budget. We give you some additional budget parameters. I've passed the report to you. It's a receive and file. I'm here for any questions, but if not, I'd be happy to let this one move on quickly.
Any comments or questions to Phil on the report? John, you're doing what?
I'm trying. I mean, you're not paying me enough. I'm trying.
Moved by John, second by Brittany. Oh, to receive and file. All in favor?
On the question.
Oh, on the question, sorry.
Yeah. And I can't remember where I found this, but The 2026 budget has a proposed deficit for Envision for $160,900. And that it's Envision's unrestricted operating surplus will be utilized to cover this deficit. That just seems kind of bizarre to me that they're predicting, like, why are they not tightening their budget to
Yeah. Yeah.
reflect that there wouldn't be already a deficit projected, and who knows what could happen between now and the end of 2026 as far, I've just, this is a little peculiar to me.
Yeah, you saw their 5-year rolling budget in the consent agenda, you're referring to it. Perhaps I can share a little bit on this. The initial budget that Envision provided, it was during a monthly regional CAO meeting, an RDM meeting, and they proposed a higher percentage that they're currently providing, and that was the time that they kind of got the information that this is not the year to ask for something much higher than 3% increase. So that was the first thing that's happened, is that they wanted a higher budget, and they didn't get it. They didn't say no, but they said come back with a better budget. The second part is that they have a very large, as you should all be aware, reserve. It's been accumulated over the years, and they're going to be using that reserve to pay off some of the needs that they've identified. So they're calling it that they're going into that, but they've also decided not to reduce those needs. The needs that they presented originally are still something that they want to proceed, but they're going to be using those operating reserves to finance it. So that's their prerogative. It's also our prerogative to accept this budget or not. At this stage, we are no longer committed to this budget from an MSA. Before we had strict amounts from the MSA established in our master service agreement. Now we are entitled to say, is this the service that we want? So this is a proposal at our stage. The only other thing I'd add, and since you brought it up, is, and I've talked to Andrew about this, is that our commitment to the Canada Games requires, in addition to the capital costs that we're talking at length about at the committee level, an operating investment of $1.5 million. He did not place that into this. So this is something that is an additional. So we'll have to figure out the process of applying that $1.5 million subsidy. I've asked him to review the ability to use in-kind support as part of that. He understands that we can only put a maximum of $500,000 of that, so it might go down to $1 million, but we'll have to divide up that $1 million over the next 4 fiscal years in order to spread that operating investment out, which would be an investment in economic development and tourism promotion. So it's not included in this budget right now.
So that I do find a little bit disturbing, to be quite honest, that this out is available to them because of surplus funds that they've accumulated to the tune of, I think it's 600,000.
I thought it was higher than that.
I think it's
come back.
1.6.
Last year, I think it was 600,000.
Yeah, I think it's grown there. So I think it is absolutely fair for us to request a clarity on what they're using for that. I've asked them for that before verbally, but for him to come back and provide an update to us on what those reserves are used for, what is the plan for the reserves, what is it going to be used for, especially around Canada Games with all these extra expenses coming on. I think it's timely to say it and to identify what it's being used for. But ultimately, I want you to know, we have a decision to make here on this. I'm not recommending at this stage that this is the fund that we're using for Envision St. John, but that's what's been proposed to us by Envision
Because
St.
every
John.
time they put a budget forward, and if we disagree with it, they can say, oh, well, we've got the money anyway.
Right. Correct.
Like,
That's one.
we don't have that luxury.
Unless they have a plan for it, to
Right.
give them, maybe they do have a big plan for it. I have not seen in their documents,
Well,
but.
there's $160,900 that is coming out of that surplus that they didn't have a plan for, other than to get what they wanted going into 2026, so.
And where does the reserve come from?
Us,
Yeah.
I know.
It's been accumulated over time.
Right, so if you
It's
gotta,
been there since
we've already
the
given it to
second or
them,
third year.
Yeah,
correct?
So they got more than they need.
yeah, so, and that's the other point, is that they have more, they're asking for more than what they're actually using.
Because last year, the story was that they had spending that they had budgeted for, but because of COVID and whatnot, they weren't able to use it. Well, that's all history now, and now they're still gaining a surplus.
Budgets are tricky, I'm sure you're aware. If you don't use the money that's allocated to you in 1 year, you're potentially gonna lose that money the next year. So I think what they're trying to do is maximize the amount of money that they can get year in and year out. It could be different with Envision than it is with other government-funded organizations, but that could be the case. They're trying to make sure that they're not gonna, it's a bit of a conundrum, right? You wanna be fiscally responsible, but
You're penalized.
So if let's say you save $1 million out of your budget, the person that's allocating that money to you is gonna say, well, geez, you don't need that $1 million, let's cut that out of your budget for next year.
Well, it would be cut out 2 years down the road.
Well-
Typically municipally, it would be sent back to the contributing, that's what we would do with fire and police, or at one time we did. If there was a surplus, then that would come back to the municipalities.
Maybe we need to get clarity on it, because it could be as simple as they had an initiative agreement worth $160,000, and then it fell through, so they didn't have to spend it, but it was allocated. So
I think it's fair to ask Andrew to come back. Again, we're aware of this. This is not the first time we know that they have a reserve. It's only coming up because they're using a portion of it to finance their needs for 2026.
It's time to question the
Yeah.
enormity of the reserve as well, because we are contributing to that, and perhaps we are being overextended in our communities while we are bolstering theirs. But
Correct. Let's give him that opportunity.
Brittany first, please.
Yeah, it's on a different subject, so I
Oh.
want to make sure that the Envision piece is exhausted before I move on to a different
No,
subject.
No.
I just have one other question for Andrew. So several of the communities are going down in donations, some are going up a bit. Rossley is going up 30%, so by far the most of anybody, and I'm wondering why that is.
Yeah. In the budget parameters, what the master service agreement had defined cost before for each member, and that was approved by contract. And the last year, that was this year. And as you recall, and this was part of the budget documents in the past, St. John's number stayed, and then there's fluctuation. So the vision of the time when this MSA was established was that there was going to be a movement towards a greater proportionality of the cost being divided across the members. And it was to, from my understanding, to see parity with the actual cost of tax base, your proportion of tax base.
I think that the original design was equal per capita contributions. That's the way it was seen.
Per capita by population? Yeah. The legislation that dictates this mandate, regional development, or regional economic development and tourism promotion, is by tax base. So now, our legislation, now that we're in lieu of a contract defining how this is divided, what we're simply indicating is that we're fulfilling the legislative requirement to then apply the total cost of the service by tax base. And this is what's happening now, is you're seeing some members jump, some go lower, and it's based to the equation that's been established by the province. So I wouldn't say this is a Envision St. John problem. This is a GNB problem that they've dictated how we're supposed to divide these costs.
It certainly sounds like we need some clarity from Andrew. Brittany?
I have a question on the assumptions for the solid waste service tipping fee.
Mhm.
So it says that Crane Mountain Landfill anticipates that they'll be maintaining the tip fee at NBCPI. So my question is, Government of New Brunswick has established that now there's a municipal CPI, and that will be applied to the new fiscal capacity fund and capital renewal funds. And so I'm assuming that Crane Mountain, they're like our main expenditures aren't on milk and eggs and bread. It's on asphalt and fuel and steel and things of that nature. which would be subject to like a municipal CPI type number. So I would suggest that we apply the municipal CPI number as defined by the government of New Brunswick to the tip fee.
I'll investigate that. That's a good point. I do know that that municipal CPI is an option, so I'll check to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good points, thanks. Any more? So, what's the wishes here?
This is a receive and file update. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we still want Andrew to come and give us more clarity on this, right,
For the next meeting, I've jotted that down, that he'll come in and provide an update on the reserve funds and what they're to be applied for.
So this motion is only to receive and file?
It was moved by Director McKenzie and seconded by Maryfield. Director Maryfield, excuse me.
Okay, all good? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried. Thank you.
We do have an option for the next one. We are 10 minutes over, and the last one is the recommendation from the Regional Facilities Committee. We certainly can discuss it, but it can also be tabled for the next meeting. We can build the assumptions of this into the budget. We would do that organically. There's a recommendation from the committee. We could do that. It doesn't have to be adopted. The one thing that should be adopted is to send the letters immediately to the federal and provincial governments, the last two portions of it. So I'm just cognizant of time. If we want to discuss it, happy to discuss it, but I want to respect your individual times here. What's your preference?
I mean, if you can wait, we can move on. I mean, I've got other things lined up. So.
No, I do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just give you the kind of the Coles notes here, just to make sure. You have a partial recommendation from the committee. We are not prepared to give a recommendation on capital. There are too many variables related to the RDC funding, the actual cost of the project, the enhancement project next year, how much RDC is going to fund to that, how much ACO is going to fund to that, how much the Canada Games Council fund will fund that. There's a lot, and it was staff's recommendation that we're not prepared to provide a recommendation. However, the good news is that the remainder, the operating budgets, are being proposed forward from the committee. It is a total reduction of about $130,000 or $140,000 difference than it was last year. So the operating costs are going downwards, which is good news. And we will come back to the committee in mid-August with a recommendation on the capital component, and that will inform the budget proposal in August. The two resolutions that are very pertinent, I'll read them out very quickly, is, I'll read the three that are non-financial. Request that all regional facilities investigate more competitive or alternative insurance partnerships and report back to the Regional Facilities Committee by August 14th. Direct the FRSC to immediately send a letter to the federal and provincial representatives to receive written confirmation of 75% funding by August 15th for the multi-year Aquatic Center Enhancement Project in order to confirm the viability of the project and to finalize future regional and local budget planning. And then lastly, there it is. Direct the FRC to send a letter to the Regional Development Corporation requesting written confirmation of their intention to fund 40% of the city's 2026 regional facilities capital proposal on or before August 15th for the 2026 FRC budget approval process, as well as written confirmation of the proposed 40% funding of the current 2025 regional facilities capital costs. What this is that the committee really felt that the region's being asked to commit to these funds, but the province and the feds haven't done it yet. And that places the region in a completely unfair and a very high-risk scenario that is untenable at the start of the project. So that's really where this stems comes out. Rob is the chair of the committee, and
it was
the chair.
It was unanimous around the table that nobody felt comfortable moving forward without a written commitment from the feds and from the province that they're going to fund this, because, and for the amount they're going to fund this. Because what happens is, if you make that commitment and they say, well, we're going to give you this amount. And the other thing Richard brought up was the cost going up of materials and stuff. You need to put that in there, because we had to go, we're about 40% more than we thought we were going to be on that rink we just built. So that could happen very easily. So then what do you do? If if we're stuck in the middle and the government says, I gave you this much and that's all we're getting you, who's gonna fund the rest of it? It's gonna be us, which can't be done. So nobody was comfortable with moving forward until we get some kind of a written agreement from province feds that they're gonna give us the funding that's needed for this.
Yeah.
Through the chair, does anybody remember when we tried to get the Acadian Games here in the province?
Mhm.
And how that ballooned from tens of millions of dollars
Oh,
to
yes.
hundreds of millions of dollars
Yes.
very, very quickly?
Yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
It's important that we don't let that
Yeah,
happen.
Premier Glant at the time.
Yeah.
It was up, yeah, they had, Nancy?
And I just want to support what you said around the table that day at that meeting of regional
Yes.
facilities. I think we all feel that this is a line in the sand. And if they're not going to help us, we need to know now.
Yeah.
And we will budget accordingly, just what's needed for the regional facilities. And we felt there was no other way to make them understand that we need a commitment,
Yeah.
except to say, you know, this is a line in the sand.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just to confirm one.
Yeah. If you get too far into it without that commitment, what are you gonna do then? Like, so, nobody was comfortable with it.
The chair, if I may.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm happy to move,
Thank you.
recommendations 6 through 8.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh, wow, look at you.
I-
Moved by Brittany, second by Jim. Question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you.
Through the rest.
That's it.
Envision is not doing a presentation today, and then it's a receive and file
I
for
thought you
7.
were supposed to go join.
Yeah.
Couldn't he just smoke you?
Just receive and file for those
Yeah, I
corrections.
was asleep, I don't know how.
Yeah. So is everybody comfortable with doing receive and file for the committee agendas and the letter from the Minister Kennedy? Because we all have it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay?
so moved.
Seconder.
Moved by John, second by Jim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you all.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. We need a
So moved.
seconder? We need a seconder for that now, don't
Yeah, I think we do.
we? We do need a seconder.
Seconder.
And adjourn.
Good luck finding a second on that one.
Seconded by Bruce. Anyways, thank you all. But yeah, I didn't know that neither till this past year, and now we have to do that. So.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Been a
guys.
long meeting. Got us through a lot. Thank
Oh,
you.
well. My battery went down by just right at the right time.
Yeah.